toast to their career.
The perfect combination, boy.
Hemp hard, legends in the South.
This is sports fans' only home for the hottest sports show around. These guys are on fire.
You're now listening to KJ and Sean Mack. Let's talk some damn sports.
Welcome back to Sports Fans Only Podcast with your boy KJ, and if you're listening on the podcast, welcome to the show. And if you're watching in YouTube world, I want to give a big shout out to you guys, your tremendous support. You guys helped get the last video to 14,000 plus views. Actually, it's at 15,000 right now, so let's keep this thing going. I like the momentum. So anyway, today we're going to kick off the show with a subject that I love talking about, which is who is the more clutch player, LeBron James or Kobe Bryant? Now, I would normally put Jordan in this conversation, but that's an argument I can never win just because people, they worship Jordan. Let's just be real. They worship him like a god. But what I can do realistically is make an argument, better yet, show you undisputable proof that LeBron is a far more clutch player than Kobe Bean Bryant based on facts, not how I feel. And I will produce said facts throughout the course of the show. Feel free to embarrass yourself and challenge me in the comments section if you like. Feel free. Now that that's out of the way, the clutchest player since the year 2000. King James, let's go. So I was reading an article on fansided.com. It was an article by Dan Galinsky, and it got me to thinking. Being more clutch can go a number of ways from my perspective. Of course, at first glance, it's understandable for basketball fans to point to a player they'd want in the last possession situation. And for that player such as LeBron James, that might not be looked at generally as his forte. James has had his moments in the clutch time over the years, though, and in the postseason, and that's what really comes to mind in his relation to the Cleveland Cavaliers. More so in his second tenure with the Cavs, that is, although James' buzzer beater in Game 2 of the 2009 Eastern Conference Finals over the Orlando Magic shouldn't be discounted. What were a few big shots in the clutch / last possession situations more recently for James with Cleveland were in the 2015 Eastern Conference semifinals over Jimmy Butler and the Chicago Bulls in Game 4. Then others were in Game 5 of the 2018 first round over the Indiana Pacers after James blocked Victor Oladipo the possession before, 2, and in Game 3 of the 2018 East semis, James' frighteningly casual walk-into-it runner over the Toronto Raptors at the buzzer was truly something else. So why do we bring up this sort of thing involving LeBron, who's on the Los Angeles Lakers now, courtesy of unrestricted free agency in the summer of 2018, you ask? Fansided released a video debating whether James or the late Kobe Bryant is more clutch. You can actually go to their website and view that video. Now, on the subject, I actually agree with Fansided. Fansided would go on to highlight each of LeBron and Kobe's clutch credentials, if you will, and Bryant had his share of regular season clutch / end of the game moments in his career. Fansided pointed out that Kobe had buzzer beaters against the Charlotte Hornets, Memphis Grizzlies, Denver Nuggets, Portland Trail Blazers, Sacramento Kings, and the Miami Heat. They also noted how in 2009-2010, the Black Mamba even nailed 3 buzzer beaters in a span of 28 days. That said, even while Fansided would go on to note how LeBron only has 2 buzzer beaters in the regular season, the key has been in the postseason, where he's taken it up a notch. Fansided highlighting how James has the combined number of buzzer beaters, 5, of Michael Jordan and Damian Lillard is a quality tidbit. Granted, MJ and Dame haven't played nearly the number of postseason games as James has. Anyhow, I do weigh Fansided postseason argument heavily too, and this is in an objective way. Furthermore, on the topic of Kobe and LeBron, in the postseason, in this realm, NBA.com's Dan McCarney demonstrated how while in the regular season, neither had much success on shots to go for the lead in the final 5 seconds of regulation or overtime, albeit Kobe had more. LeBron was far more efficient in the postseason. McCarney showed how Kobe Bryant was 3 of 13, a 23.1% clip in those situations in the postseason in his career, whereas LeBron James was 8 of 16, a 50% clip. So while James hasn't had the raw jump shooting capability of Bryant really, and has been far more physically dominant in terms of driving to the basket, and has been more willing to kick out to shooters in these situations, the results in the postseason still show he's pretty darn clutch on the big stage. That's in the overall scoring sense, and FanSided briefly hitting on James' clutch layup over Paul George in Game 1 of the 2013 Eastern Conference Finals was an example of how James' athleticism has aided him in these kinds of situations at times. That was when James was on the Miami Heat. FanSided touching on James' Game 5 of the 2007 Eastern Conference Finals scoring barrage at the Detroit Pistons, in which he scored 29 of Cleveland's last 30 points in regulation/overtime, was in that realm too. Additionally, even while FanSided did not necessarily get into it, James' elimination game statistics have been in a league of their own, as McCartney displayed. His article did not include 2020 postseason stats though, but the results even before this current postseason hold plenty of weight. And to me, this should factor into the argument. McCartney shows how James' career basic numbers in elimination games are as follows. For context, 33.6 points per game on 49.1% shooting to go with 10.8 rebounds and 7.5 assists per outing. His record is 14 and 10 in said instances. Kobe in those situations had a 22.6 points per game on 44% shooting to go with 5.7 rebounds and 3.4 assists per outing with a record of 8 and 11. McCartney had more to add for LeBron's clutch case from there, and I quote, "These are monster numbers, including the highest scoring average in league history, coming in some of the most important games a player will ever face. And yet Bryant, despite having significantly worse averages across the board, had no clear edge in game winners, is the one with the killer closer reputation, while LeBron's narrative is that of a player who hasn't always risen to the occasion," which isn't untrue on its face. This is also a player who vanished under baffling circumstances as the 2011 finals slipped through Miami's collective fingers. But the overall body of work speaks for itself. When your season is on the line and clutch is required, LeBron is truly king, end quote. So yes, while the narrative doesn't necessarily scream for James in these instances, he, in an unbiased manner, was just better than Bryant when it mattered in the clutch in the postseason. To me, while I fully understand that there were some instances perhaps when LeBron's squad shouldn't have let it get to elimination situations, he's been otherworldly in those scenarios, as McCartney illustrated. The elimination game part of the argument, which I believe is frankly part of it, given the stakes in the postseason, indicates that LeBron's been more clutch than Kobe from my perspective. And I agree with FanSided here, circling back. But the late Kobe never shied away from those moments, and I give him plenty of credit for that. In any case, and it's not as if the dude wasn't a winner. That's evident by his 5 rings, all with the Lakers. I'm going with LeBron, who is still a 4-time NBA champion. He went to the NBA Finals how many times in a row between 2011 and 2018. And in this argument, I'm just going to have to go with LeBron James. Everybody knows my opinion on that. I think he's proved himself. And I think he's proved himself over the last 7-8 years. There's nobody that can sit there and actually say this man isn't as clutch as any perimeter player to ever play the game. You can't honestly say that to yourself and be a real sports fan. Now, you might not like the dude on the court. Most people love him off the court, but you might not like him on the court, and that's understandable. You might be a Kobe fan. Most of those people are Kobe fans or Jordan fans. I'm a Jordan fan, never was a Kobe fan, but since he's passed, I've definitely learned to appreciate his game more. But never been a Kobe fan, always was a Jordan fan, but I can just appreciate LeBron. People add so many other things, they just can't appreciate his greatness. And I can do that, and I can back it up with evidence. If you have any evidence, like I said, if you want to look silly, and I don't mean that in a negative way, I want to have a little banter, a little back and forth. So leave it in the comments if you dare. I dare you to. And yeah, that's it. I hope you guys like the show. Once again, this is KJ on Sports Fans Only Podcast. If you listen to the podcast, we're about to go to a music break. If you're out there in YouTube world, I appreciate you guys stopping in, and we will see you guys next time. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Like I said, I'm KJ, Sports Fans Only. I'm out. Peace.